and welcome to the Charcot-Marie-Tooth Association's Patients as Partners in Research webinar. We are thrilled to have you join us tonight. My name is Laurel Richardson, and I am the Director of Community Outreach for the CMTA. We have had so many community members ask us how can they be involved in the research process, and we want to get all of those questions answered in tonight's webinar. In our November webinar, we shared a STAR research update with you. We have invested over $10 million since 2008 trying to bring a drug, treatment, or cure to market for CMT, and we continue those efforts full force today. We partner now with over 20 pharmaceutical and biotechnology companies to work on these STAR research efforts. In tonight's webinar, we have an incredible lineup, again, of people who are going to help us understand what it means to be a patient as a partner in research and how you can help with that effort. So we will be speaking with Mark Larkin, who is the creator and developer of the CMT&Me App. He will be interviewed by Tom Meloche, who is a CMTA advisory board member, and they're going to talk about what the app is, where you find it, where the surveys are, how often you should do the surveys, and where does that information go. So that will be incredibly valuable for us to know as a community. We will also hear from a couple of patients in the community who will talk about their experiences in clinical trials, as well as participating in a focus group. So we look forward to hearing that information. And last, but certainly not least, the one and only Dr. Michael Shai will be here to talk about the importance of being in the CMT registry, and also when you're able to, how valuable it is to be seen at a CMTA Center of Excellence. And also he'll touch on the natural history study that's happening around the country. So once again, we thank you for being here. We are so grateful to our esteemed lineup of speakers for their time and their talents. And thank you all, the community, for being with us tonight. We hope you enjoyed the webinar. Thank you.
Hello, this is Tom Meloche. I'm a member of the Board of Advisors of the CMTA, working with them on process and marketing and advertising. And I'm here today with Mark Larson, and I am really excited to be here today with Mark because he has created the application CMT&Me. And I am really excited about what this means for me as a patient with CMT1A, and I'm really excited about what it means for the whole community of everyone with CMT. So Mark, I would love for you to introduce what the app is and why you created it and what you're doing with it.
Well, thanks, Tom, and thank you for the invitation to this webinar. It's great to be here. The CMT&Me app is a way of gathering data from CMT patients around the world about how the disease and treatments affect them in their everyday lives. And essentially, the app is part of an international scientific study to generate those data, to be a really useful resource for the scientific community to help understand CMT in the real world setting.
This is so amazing because so many of us who have this disease, when we go to our doctors or we go to even the specialists, and we're like, I have this symptom, and is this a part of CMT or is it not? And often they just don't know because we haven't done a great job. And even when we share it with them, we're like, are they sharing it with anyone else? Is it being written down? Is anyone collecting this information about our disease and our symptoms? And the answer is, until your app, really no. But now there is a place. Now there is a place for us as a community to come together, download the app, share the information, and actually make sure that the community of researchers and physicians knows about what does it mean to have this disease.
Yeah, exactly right. And as many of the audience will know, CMT is actually one of the most common rare diseases. But as a rare disease, the scientific literature isn't that great. There's real gaps in the published literature about how the disease affects people. And that was really some of the background to this study, to be able to try and fill some of those gaps by asking people standardized questions that have been scientifically approved, if you like, and that can be the source of publications in the scientific literature, which will improve knowledge and maybe improve the way the disease is treated as well.
So the goal and purpose of this app then really is to collect this information from patients all over the world, right? You're not just doing this in the United States, but all over, and to share it with the research community.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a long-term study. So the initial data capture period's 2.5 years. But if it works out well, we'll hope to extend it. And the initial countries that we're launching in are the US, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, and the UK. So across Europe and the US. And one of the great things about doing a project like this digitally is that we're able to pool the data. We're able to get at the data a lot more quickly. So researchers can access the data, even hours after it's been generated on someone's smartphone. It's straight to the cloud. Amazing. Gets anonymized, and then they can sort of start, exploring it, running statistics, looking at different types of cohort and patients in close to real time.
So how do we take part? How does the community download the app? Where do we find it? What's it called? How do we download it and start using it?
Right. So it's the study app is called CMT&Me. You can go to your Android or your Apple app stores. It's free to download. Great. You'll see when you download, there's quite a lot of questions we ask. There's some onboarding questions. There's a really rigorous and detailed informed consent. Some people might find that a bit unusual if they've used other health apps, but that's really about the scientific rigor for the study that we put in place. It's consistent with the data privacy requirements, so things like GDPR in the EU and HIPAA in the US. So it's a really rigorous base. So download the study app onto your smartphone. Hopefully it'll be nice and easy, guiding you through all the questions when on the onboarding, and then you get started. Basically, the app is composed of a number of different standardized questionnaires or surveys that explore.
There are a lot of surveys in this app.
There are a lot of surveys, and there's a reason for that. One is, as many people, participants, CMT patients will know, there's a lot of aspects for how CMT impacts people, right? It's not just one thing. There's a whole different load of things. So it might be limb function, it might be fatigue, it might be pain, it might be sleep, it might be how it interacts with the way you work. So what we wanted to do is try and make sure we get to the bottom of all of those. So typically we have a survey that's about each one of those different aspects of it. But people don't need to worry about when to take them. There's notifications in the app that says, actually, this month, can you do this survey? It'll take you about 5 minutes.
We can spread them out over time. Exactly. We don't have to do them all at once.
No.
All right. And in a lot of them, it tells you in the app how long it will take to take the survey. And a lot of them are short, 5 to 10 minutes, but there's a lot of them. But we'll spread them out, right? So.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we know there's quite a lot of these. You don't have to take them all at the same time. We recognise people have got busy lives, so it's important to say, not just can you take this survey, but can you take this one that's going to take you about 5 minutes, going to take you 8 minutes, so that people can work out, maybe they're on a train, on a bus, on a plane, they can do it then, or when they're waiting to pick up the kids, in their daily lives, basically.
So I was really excited to see, by the way, that this is being done in Europe, because I know Europe has even stronger privacy rules than the United States does in many things on the internet. But it's also covered under HIPAA, so that's why we answer all those questions at the beginning to give you consent to use the data. But where does the data go, and is this confidential?
Great. So first question, is it confidential? Absolutely. So we and the scientific community, they're not interested, and we're not interested in people's personal identifiable information. There's a lot of information that we ask about. We anonymize it. So what we're trying to do is put together a big group of patients that we can, study and understand. But we don't want to know people's. We anonymize it. So we take out the way that a researcher could identifies someone. So the researchers looking at the data will only ever see anonymized data. So that's really
Right.
important. But it's confidential. The data passes from someone's device to the cloud. We've got a very secure cloud-based platform that enables us to store the data with the gold standard security. And that's, as it's in the cloud, that also means that we can enable certified, approved researchers to access the data for research. But again,
Right.
stress again, it's the anonymized data. It's not the personally identifiable information, just stripped out.
So how many patients are already enrolled, and how many people are using the app?
Well, we got around, I think, just over 1,000 people have downloaded the app in the US and the UK. Now, the US and the UK were the two first countries we launched in. In about the beginning of next week, we're also launching in Italy and in Germany. And then at a few weeks' time, we're going to be launching in France and in Spain. So we have a bit of a staggered launch. But the number of users, it's so just US and UK at the moment, over 1,000 downloads, and we've got I think almost about 600-700 patients who have gone through all of the enrollment process and have started really generating data on a regular basis. And that's really exciting, because how this sort of study was done before was with pen and paper and clipboards, and that took a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of resources to do. But now in the United States, we can launch a study on day one, and on day one we can get patients from all of the states, every state of the United States, starting off. So it's a lot quicker to recruit than traditional studies.
Which is wonderful. So those who've downloaded it already, we want to encourage you to start putting in the data and answering some of the surveys. And those who haven't downloaded in our CMTA community, we want to really encourage you to download and to begin to use the app. It's a new app, so if we have a question, how do we get a question to you? Sometimes we're sometimes an older community. We're not necessarily that technological savvy all the time, and we might get stuck. So what do we do if we get stuck?
Well, there's some online resources on our website, and we'll put the links up so folks can see those on the website and my company website. So that's vitaccess.com. There's also a CMT at vitaccess.com. Any questions, any help anyone wants, we'll be happy to help. And we're going to be rolling out some additional features in the study app to make feedback even easier within the app as well. And it's actually important to mention that these long-term projects, which are app-based, there's continual development involved. So we launch with some features, that all those surveys that you mentioned, but some other features that we think and we hope are going to be useful for patients to help them manage their condition. Things like, a symptom tracker, things like a knowledge feature, which has validated information about CMT and about, how it manifests itself. Those are features that we build into the study app to try and help patients. So hopefully that's an engaging, that's something to make it a bit more engaging for the participants too.
Absolutely, yeah. And so there is a knowledge section in the app, and this is highly vetted and knowledge. It's not just something you might Google anywhere on the internet.
Exactly, because Dr. Google can be a little bit upsetting if you're not sure. People can get conflicting information. So this is information that's been validated by clinical experts in CMT.
So what types of CMT should you have to use this app?
Well, I know, another great advantage of a project like this is that we can be very broad in the type of patients we're looking for. So we want all types of patients, all subtypes of CMT. So not just type 1A, but any other types of any other subtypes. And if people don't have a confirmed diagnosis, then we'd still like to have them on board. And even if they don't know what their subtype is, there's a don't know. So we want everyone to be involved.
So even if you don't know, you can use the app and you'll record it under don't know to gather that. That's wonderful.
And it could be that, this, as I said, this long-term study, some of those don't knows might convert find out what their diagnosis is during our study. And, there's the ability to update your information in that way as well.
So when you're using the app, is there like one account per person? And is there any age requirement for the app?
Yeah, it is one account per person. I mean, obviously, if different members of families want to participate in the study, we'd love to have that happen, but they should register, a new account on their own smartphone.
Okay.
It's adults only for the moment, and there's some sort of compliance reasons for that. So it is adults at the moment. We may expand it into younger patients in the future, but at the moment it's just adults.
So for our United States folks, adults only 18 years or older.
Exactly.
And who will have access to this data, and how do they get it? You're getting real-time data. I'm guessing that could be really interesting to people, but who gets it and how?
Well, the study's been sponsored by a developer, manufacturer called Pharnex, who's got a treatment in late stage development. So they're going to access some of the. Remember, all of this is always anonymized data, so I need to stress that. So they have their researchers are looking at this as well. But another really, I think, powerful part of this project is that the data set are available to certified researchers in academia from, it doesn't have to be a drug manufacturer. And we've got information about how people can access the data set on our website. There's a form. So if you're a researcher, you've got an interest in CMT, you think, oh, this study sounds interesting. I've got a research question I'd like to use the research data set for. You fill out a form on our website. It goes to, we have a scientific advisory board for this study as well. So that's composed of patient groups like CMTA, but also clinicians in each of the countries we're working in. And those requests for data access go to that scientific advisory board, and it's them who make those decisions about whether they should have the researchers should have access. But broadly, we want access to as broad a range of researchers as possible, because that's in the interest of the patients and the academic community, both.
That's wonderful. I want to really encourage everybody who's listening to this webinar to go to their Android or App Store, find CMT&Me, download it. Read through. I read through all of the things that you do. You do a nice job of walking us through the legal requirements, one screen at a time and one question at a time, and then and start taking surveys. It's just a wonderful asset to the research community, in a wonderful way for us to share our individual experiences in a way that will really go out to researchers and companies all over the world who are looking for treatments and cures for this disease. So I can't think of anything more exciting as a way for each of us individually to participate and do than to download your app and start taking surveys. Don't feel overwhelmed. Just take one. You'll send us little text reminders to take to the next one.
Exactly.
We can bounce around and take them in any order. How does that work once you're inside?
Exactly. As I said, there's people may be familiar with these in-app notifications, these push notifications that you get from other apps. Once you've got going within the app, you will get those at the right level of frequency. Some of the surveys are monthly. But if things don't change that frequently, it doesn't make any sense to ask about them every month. Maybe we'll only do it every quarter, maybe less frequently. But the app takes care of that. You just follow the notifications, and it'll take you to what needs to get done.
And that's really wonderful. I know the CMTA community can do this. We did a survey once for a researcher just on Facebook. I think we had 900 responses.
Wow.
within 1 day.
Wow.
So the people are out there, the interest is out there. This is a longer survey. It runs for a longer period. How many years is this expected to run where people can participate? They don't have to, but they can participate for a long time.
Exactly. So the starting duration is 2.5 years. So we launched late last year. So we've got over another 2 years to go. So there's plenty of time. But as I mentioned before, if these data are good, I mean, I'm sure the sponsor will want to extend it, because it's a really rich source of data. The other thing to mention is that these projects evolve. So, we want people's feedback. If you're participating in this, great that we got your data, you're taking the surveys, and we thank you for that. But there's these other features that we've built into the app. If you've got some ideas for other things you'd like to see, tell us. We'd love to see if we can incorporate.
So we can send you ideas. I know you mentioned previously, and when we were talking, that there's a community feature that may be coming out. So there'll be other ways to reach out to share feedback and insights and to share our experiences. Exactly. Anything else you'd like to share before we finish? Mark?
No, I mean, I'd firstly like to thank anyone who's in the audience who's already begun participating. Thank you for your help. Tell your friends. We'd love to get your feedback. And I think this is quite an innovative type of project. It's the opportunity to be involved in a scientific study. And I know many of the members of the CMT community are very motivated to try and improve care, increase awareness of CMT, help with development of new treatments. And this is a maybe unique opportunity to be part of an international study where, the more patients we can get involved, the better the study will be.
Yeah, and that's just wonderful. So those of you who download it and start taking it, also share it on Facebook, spread it out to the community. How do we get 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 of our members downloading this app and getting this information to the research? This is the future. This style of data collection is the future, and we get to be a part of it right now. And I'm just really excited. So I want to encourage everybody, download the app, CMT&Me, in your Android store, in your iPhone app store, and start the experience of participating in this amazing project. Mark, thank you so much for coming and sharing this exciting opportunity with us. It is a real privilege to meet you, the brains behind this application.
One of the brains, maybe.
One of the brains.
This is a really collaborative project. So it's a big team of people. So there's patient groups, there's clinicians, and there's patients, of course, that helped us in the development of this. So, I mean, that's part of the fun, and that's part of the power of this sort of project.
And that's awesome. And now you need us for this to work. You need us, and this is our chance, folks. Your experiences, your symptoms, even your daily pains. You actually have someone in Mark who wants to hear about your daily pains and wants to gather that information and share it with researchers. So this is the time. Yeah. Mark, again, thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Bye.
Hi, my name is Robert Thomas, and I have CMT1A. I live in San Diego, and I work as a director of federal business for a small university downtown. And several years ago, I registered on the CMT registry. And a few years ago, I was notified by someone that there was a trial, a clinical trial for Farnex. And I've been involved with 3 clinical trials for Farnex, each lasting about a year apiece. And I'm currently in an open label trial, which is the final trial before the drug is approved. I usually go up to the hospital about quarterly, and I spend about 2 hours there each time. They do tests of my dexterity. They use like pegboards, and they time me. They check my gait. They do nerve speed tests where they pass electrical currents through you to check and see, what if there's any change in the speed of the reaction of your nerves. And afterwards, I usually treat myself to a nice lunch or dinner. And I've been involved with the trial at Cedars-Sinai, which is a center of excellence, and I'm very well treated there. There's somebody that always greets me when I arrive, and stays with me during the whole time that the trial is there, to make sure that I get things that I need, or if I need, water or need something. And I can't emphasize enough the importance of getting on the registry so that you can participate in trials and maybe get a first-hand look at improvements in your condition. I try not to let the disease really beat me. I regularly work out in weight rooms, and I ride a bicycle every day as part of my commute. And I'm just dealing with it just as well as anybody could. But the clinical trial certainly gives me hope.
Hi, my name is Denise Snow, and I live in the Seattle area, where I am part of the CMTA community by being a group leader for other members of the community who have CMT and their family members, and for people who come in and talk to our group on a regular basis about what it's like to have CMT and what else we can learn about it. We also conduct some fundraisers, several a year, and all funds that we raise go toward CMT. I'm one of many people in my family who have CMT. We have CMT type 2E. I was officially diagnosed when I was in my late 20s, but I recognized symptoms when I was in my teens because, as I was growing up, I recognized the symptoms. I saw them. I knew what it was. So I was diagnosed. At that time, when I was diagnosed, I was falling occasionally, had been clumsy, and had always been clumsy, really. And I was not an athlete at all, although I did want to be a cheerleader at one time, but oh well. Since my diagnosis, I have consciously worked on ways to deal with and around my symptoms, ways that I can be productive and fulfilled in my life. My philosophy has always been, I'll do as much as I can while I can. So recently, in 2018, I was invited by some CMTA staff members to participate in a focus group to talk about and participate in a guided discussion about CMT with some researchers. And they were asking us questions about what our day-to-day lives are like. It was a guided focus group where they asked questions of other CMT2 patients about what we deal with on a day-to-day basis. What are our lives like? What are our individual symptoms? What is the progression of the disease? And just as in general, what is our day-to-day life about, and who helps us, and what are our struggles? It was very interesting to participate in that focus group, knowing that what the researchers were looking at is who we are as people. And I would really encourage people to participate in that kind of thing, because it really helps researchers and clinicians to gain a better understanding of who we are as people, how we live our lives, how they can fine-tune and specifically target their efforts toward finding ways to treat and cure CMT. So if you're at all interested in participating in a group like this, you can go to the CMTA website and you can find out how to become a partner in research. And by partnering with researchers and clinicians, we as patients and the researchers can find those critical keys in the quest to unlock the mysteries of CMT. Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Michael Schei, and I'm pleased to have the opportunity to talk to you about the importance of the natural history studies that are going on with CMT as well as the biomarkers. This is a really exciting time in the field of CMT clinical research, and in part because of partnerships between patients and families with CMT and researchers like myself. We're really at the point where we're undertaking clinical trials that have the potential to really help treat CMT. But I ask you to consider how these clinical trials get run. We need to know if medications used to treat patients are effective, and to do that we need to be able to measure what the natural history of CMT is. And by natural history, I mean how different subtypes of CMT progress over time. The only way to do this carefully is to use carefully measured outcome instruments, such as what are called the CMT neuropathy score, or the CMT pediatric scale, or the CMT infant scale, or the CMT functional outcome measure. All of these really require really a careful partnership between patients with CMT and, again, investigators like myself. It's for this reason that I ask you, when it's possible, to try to get into, be seen at the CMT Centers of Excellence, because all the examiners at these centers are trained in these outcome measurements, and we all share this data through what's called the Inherited Neuropathy Consortium, which we're very pleased that the CMTA helps support. In addition, particularly for people who aren't able to come in to be seen at clinics, we have our online patient registries, and these again are done through the Inherited Neuropathy Consortium, which you can simply go online and link into. And in these in this link, you'll see an opportunity to join the online patient registry. This just takes a few minutes, and then it allows you to partner with us as we work to develop newer and more sensitive outcome instruments. This contact registry just takes a few minutes to register for, and then it allows us to send out questionnaires and for you to respond to them, and really test some of these outcome instruments, because as we try to develop ways to determine how CMT progresses, we need to have impact from people with CMT to make these patient-reported outcome instruments. These queries allow us to really focus our measurements on things that are important to individuals with CMT. Again, these are partnerships with the Charcot-Marie-Tooth Association. They can only be done with help from people like yourselves, and again, I really urge you again to consider registering for these online patient contact registries, to go when possible to centers of excellence, and to be part of building the natural history studies, so that we can really determine which medications are most effective for people with different subtypes of CMT. Again, I thank you very much.